Fear. It's a shadow that stretches long before the object that casts it ever arrives. It's the knot in your stomach before a difficult conversation, the dread of an uncertain future, the paralyzing anxiety when facing overwhelming chaos. In our modern world, fear is amplified by constant information, hypothetical horrors, and the sheer unpredictability of existence. We often find ourselves living in a perpetual state of what if. But what if there was a way to face these specters, not by ignoring them, but by understanding them, and by doing so stripping them of their power? This is precisely what Seneca, a man who faced exile, political intrigue, and eventually a forced suicide, taught us about fear. He understood its deceptive nature intimately. Seneca, in his Letters from a Stoic, constantly reminded his friend Lucilius, and by extension, us, that our imagination is often a far crueler tormentor than reality itself. We exaggerate, anticipate, and even invent sorrows that never come to pass. Think about it. How much mental energy have you spent worrying about an outcome that simply never materialized? This is where Stoicism offers its first powerful antidote, the discipline of perception. Fear, at its core, is a judgment about a future event. It's our assent to the impression that something bad will happen, and that this bad thing must be avoided at all costs. But Stoicism teaches us to question these impressions, to not immediately assent to every fearful thought that enters our mind. One of Seneca's most practical and profound tools for confronting fear is a practice known as Premeditatio Malorum, the premeditation of evils. Now, this might sound counterintuitive. Why would you actively think about bad things happening? Isn't that just inviting misery? Seneca would argue, quite the opposite. He said, what is quite unlooked for is more crushing in its effect, and unexpectedness adds to the weight of a disaster. Imagine a soldier who never trains for battle, never considers what it would be like to face an enemy. When the real fight comes, he's paralyzed by shock and terror. But a soldier who has rehearsed, mentally prepared for the worst, even physically endured simulated hardships, is far more resilient. Premeditatio Malorum is precisely this mental training. It's not about dwelling on negativity. It's about systematically contemplating potential misfortunes, allowing us to mentally prepare, and thereby to inoculate ourselves against the shock and despair if those misfortunes actually occur. Let's say you dread losing your job. The Stoic practice isn't to constantly worry about it. Instead, during a calm moment, you'd sit down and ask, what's the worst that could happen if I lost my job? You might think, I'd struggle financially. I'd feel embarrassed. I'd have to find a new one. Then you'd calmly consider, could I survive financially for a while? What steps would I take to find a new job? Would true embarrassment come from the situation or my reaction to it? By doing this, you strip the hypothetical disaster of its element of surprise. You realize that while difficult, it's not the end of the world. You've thought through the initial shock, and you've mentally prepared a response. Seneca believed that much of our suffering comes from the unexpectedness of misfortune. By anticipating it, we soften its blow. This practice of Premeditatio Malorum seamlessly leads us to another fundamental Stoic principle, the dichotomy of control. This is the bedrock of Stoic tranquility. The Stoics meticulously divided the world into two categories, things within our control and things outside our control. What's in our control? Our judgments, our impulses, our desires, our aversions, in essence, our own thoughts and actions. What's not in our control? Everything else. Other people's opinions, external events, health, to a large extent, fortune, even whether the sun rises tomorrow. Fear predominantly arises when we try to control or fret over things that are not within our control. We fear the outcome of a situation, the judgment of others, the unpredictable turns of fate. Seneca, like Epictetus, would remind us that anxiety is essentially wanting something to be other than it is, something that is not in our power. Wild animals run from the dangers they actually see, and once they have escaped them, worry no more. We, however, are tormented alike by what is past and what is to come. Unlike animals who react only to present threats, we humans have the unique and often torturous ability to dwell on the past and dread the future. The Stoic response is to bring your focus back to the present moment and to what you can control. You cannot control if a frightening event occurs, but you can control how you prepare for it, how you react to it, and the judgments you make about it. By regularly distinguishing between what is and isn't in your power, you stop wasting precious mental energy on the uncontrollable. This doesn't mean you become complacent. It means you direct your energy effectively. You prepare diligently, you act virtuously, and then you accept the outcome. whatever it may be. The fear begins to dissipate when you realize that your true well-being isn't dependent on external circumstances, but on your inner response. So how do we apply Seneca's timeless wisdom in our lives today, whether facing personal anxieties or the larger chaos of the world? Practice Premeditatio Malorum regularly. Don't wait for a crisis. Take a few minutes each morning or evening to calmly consider what might go wrong. Not to wallow, but to mentally prepare and strip the unexpected of its power. Ask, if X happened, what's the worst outcome? What would I do? Could I endure it? You'll often find you're stronger than you think. Identify your circle of control. When fear strikes, pause. Ask yourself, is this situation truly within my control? What part of it is within my control? Focus your energy only on that part, your attitude, your effort, your response. Let go of the rest. Question your impressions. Don't automatically believe every fearful thought your mind conjures. Is it a fact or an exaggerated possibility? Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Test your fears against reality. Embrace adversity as training. Seneca famously said, "Fire tests gold, adversity tests the brave." Don't view challenges as purely negative. See them as opportunities to practice your stoicism, to build resilience, and to reveal the strength you didn't know you possessed. Fear is an inescapable part of the human condition, but it doesn't have to define us. With Seneca's guidance and the practical tools of stoicism, we can transform fear from a paralyzing force into a challenge to be met with reason and resilience. By understanding that much of our dread is self-inflicted, by mentally preparing for life's inevitable setbacks, and by focusing our energy solely on what is within our power, we forge an inner shield that no external horror or chaos can truly penetrate. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate fear, but to control our relationship with it. To face the darkness, acknowledge its presence, and then, with the unshakable calm of a Stoic, walk through it. Thank you for joining me on the Stoic Forge. May your inner strength be your guiding light.